Solid tip number 3, be logical. Make sure it makes sense. Make sure it makes sense not just for you, but for your kids. Make sure it makes sense for your cohorts. Again, I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one here, but my period 1 kiddos, they are not the same as my period 4. And let me tell you right now, that after lunch class, baby, mm-mm. So it has to make sense, not just for the assignment and the task, but for your group of students. So, as you really unpack each and every step, step 1, brainstorming. What do you want them to do? What do you want it to look like? It needs to make sense. What you're asking them to do has to be logical for the kids in front of you. And what that means is what you ask period 1 can look a little different than what you ask periods 2, 3, and 4. And that is perfectly okay. What it also means is it has to make sense based on what you're currently doing in class. So let's jump right in to solid tip or solid step number 3, be logical. So we've already calendared it out. We've organized. We know that, okay, each and every step, we're going to create a little mini lesson. But how do we actually present it? How do we package it and present it in a way that makes sense for the students in front of us? What I like to do, what's logical for me, and this is what I'm sharing with you, is have it as a slide deck. Most campuses now, most schools now have a lot more resources, technological resources, especially after the pandemic, continue to leverage it. For me, creating it as one slide deck with each and every step there for students to actually type directly into makes the most sense for me. I could upload it using different platforms like Google Classroom. Google Classroom I love because I could upload it and I always have access to it. So I can constantly jump in to their documents while they're working. For me, I like to do this 2-slide strategy. One slide, the directions, another slide is their actual working space. For step 1, for example, I say brainstorm here. I'm going to give them directions. This, of course, isn't their directions, but here I say brainstorm, select a method or a strategy or a map that you would want to use. It should be something connected to the learning and the task. So for us, we teach Joe List framework when it comes to argument writing. And so my brainstorm is going to go and mirror what we've already been unpacking when we're reading the argument. It just makes the most sense. And so the brainstorm I want my students to do is to brainstorm exigence, audience, and purpose. And literally, all they have to do is click in the box and type in what is that exigent circumstance that will be surrounding your argument, who is your audience, and what is your ultimate purpose. And then now, step 2, outline, same thing. You want to decide what outline you're going to have them do. It could be the traditional Roman numeral 1, etc., but don't be afraid to think outside the box. For example, I like the question and answer. I love this because I give students a guiding question to help them create their outline, and all they have to do is click in the box and type the answers. And I've even provided sentence starters. Here's an example of varying support. If I'm teaching AP or honors, I'm not going to give them the sentence starters. But with my students, I have a lot of English language learners. I'm going to provide some of those sentence starters that will help get them to create these outlines. And again, this is recursive. You can have them do step 2 multiple times. Just outline the intro is what I did here. You can have them outline the body paragraph using the same guiding question format a little bit later. Step 3, same thing. So you see, draft the introduction. So one slide, make it make sense. One slide is the direction. The other slide is where students will actually copy and paste or type directly into it. Same thing, revising and edit. I separate it, right? Create a focus. So even if you start with arms, then you want to be very specific. You're not going to do all four. Maybe you just want them to do diction because that's what you did last semester. You want a quick refresher, make sure they're still doing it. So I'm going to use a very similar format. Original word, go ahead and create a stronger word. Give me a stronger verb or adjective. And then what is your intention? Why did you choose to change your original word to this revised word? And I'm going to do the same thing with cups. Original sentence, punctuation rule, revised sentence. You'll see here that my period 7, they're a little different. They are very social. We're gonna call these babies social, right? So this is the group where I need to constantly build in something for them. Again, it looks like a lot of planning. You do it once, you will rinse and repeat. So to keep them engaged, I can't just have them revise and edit. I might need them to do like a peer feedback, to do a four corners activity for revising and editing. So I'm going to build in that component for that particular class, and then I'll continue so forth and so on. So again, be logical, make it make sense, not just for the task. This is where you are being logical for your students. Use their personalities. Don't fight against them. You have a talkative class, then embed more talking opportunities. You have a very active and hyper class, they're constantly moving and getting up, embed more activities that require them to move around the room, to grab sentence stems from across the room to build their sentences first in a tactile manner, and then once it's spread out on the desk, then they can type it and then hang it back on the walls of the classroom.